Perfectionism. It's my worst enemy as an artist. Every time I do commissions, there's at least one piece where I go hours above the time limit that the client is paying for. I need to be more time efficient. And in this commissions video, I have this client. I can finally afford a commission. Epic. It would be very, very cool and swag if you could draw my Osi Daisuke playing semi-broken bass guitar. What? OMG. Epic. In an abandoned apartment with a lot of debris. By the way, I love how you paint abandoned places, especially in this. You can just draw it however you like, XD. Sounds nice. We got ourselves a character and an environment that we get to squeeze into a 5-hour time limit. Now, what are some ways we could go about that, you ask? Bass guitarist with black hair sitting down in an abandoned building, alone playing bass while smoking a cigarette. Movie. Okay, Unreal Engine 5 fingers trending on ArtStation. Let's get this commission made for us in 5 seconds. Yeah, okay, like colors, it is moody. The strings are becoming his hands and he has no face. What is up with his fucking fingers? But yeah, now I know what not to do. Now, this is what everybody can generate. Let's actually draw this shit. But first, let's talk about our sponsor, Raid Shadow. That was a joke, there is no sponsor. However, you should check out the huge library of reference image packs by Graphit Studio. So first I thought I would go for a shot where the guy is very clearly in the center of the image, being the focal point in a very boring manner. Not boring, but just very direct, you know what I mean? Secondly, surprise, surprise, I actually did a second thumbnail. I never do that, but this time we're breaking the habit. For some reason I wanted to do an image from a more top-down view for a while, so this is the manifestation of that. I don't know why, I just enjoy the look of having the camera. Oh, you're seeing me from the top right now. That's a sign of respect for the viewers. I don't put y'all below me. I don't know what the statistics on numbers of couches in abandoned buildings are, but I thought it felt out of place to have a couch in this image in particular. Not in the first one, just in this one. I ended up actually committing to the second version, so that second thumbnail paid off. Very nice. This is the core essence of the image right here. We're on a timer here, so to be efficient, I'm setting the perspective up in 3D. Let's place some basic blocky shapes across the scene here. If you're wondering what this is on the ground, it's a table with its legs cut off. The legs were cut off when the wall was cut off. Now, to be inefficient, I'm placing some light sources in that I won't actually be able to see once I actually import the model into Clip Studio. I don't know why I did this here, but yeah, I dragged that bad boy in to set up the camera angle properly. I have no idea how your hands are supposed to be placed on the instrument, like so that good sound comes out. I downloaded the preset pose asset for the Clip Studio 3D dummy. Anyway, I just started drawing some clothes over the model to kick off the actual drawing portion. OMG. This nerd started drawing before even giving him base. How dare you? Let's give the man a base. Anyway, the face is not super visible from this angle, which is convenient because I don't have to waste time trying to get the likeness to be correct. And at that moment, I actually hit the 1 hour mark. Surprisingly large amount of work done in the first hour. So let's keep going and add this anime-ass hair in. To transition to the background for a moment, my goal with it is to amplify the character. And the main technique I'm using to achieve this is leading lines. Essentially, if we move our eyes along the lines I've drawn, they will most of the time lead back to the character, either directly or indirectly. This includes things like the 2 slanted table legs on the ground there, which point towards him, and the layer of paint on the wall behind his back that's peeling off. That is also intentionally done in like an arc that reinforces him. If you remember how I said the simple thumbnail was the essence of the image, I really meant it. The lines on the ground reflect the angle of the rubble pieces, which kinda arc around the character, creating a satisfying flow in the composition. Now I remembered that I hadn't given him any feet, so this part is for all you feet lovers out there. A bit of manual labor here, drawing brick shapes on the wall. This type of shit is way more useful to do in 3D because it's annoying. Didn't think ahead enough in the 3D stage. To wrap up the drawing phase, I added a bit of planned action breaking through the cracked concrete to imply overgrowth, nature breaking in, you know what I'm saying? Okay, so let's turn the lights on. Let's blast some light over this motherfucker. So I will do my signature thing here of erasing out pieces of light to make shadows. Most of the character will be in shadow because that side of him is facing the camera. But yeah, light and shadow, that's subjective, but you'll see what I mean later. Now, we're essentially creating new shapes in the image, which also emphasize the character with this straight line and this arc. I thought a bright orange would look cool as the main light color. To contrast it, I added this greenish blue tone for the shadow areas. Now, this is cool and all, but it's missing style. We need some more flair. So the really super saturated red fixes that, adds a little bit of mystery and a little spice in the image. It looks kind of cool, adds a splash of color. So yeah, the sketch was ready to be presented to the client for modifications or approval, and luckily they very much enjoyed it the way it was, and I didn't have to make any changes. So the next step was... This has got to be the most efficient I've been on a time limit in a while, because all this was done with just 2 hours and 15 minutes spent on the canvas. So that's a nice change of pace on this channel. So now on to the most exciting part of the process. The best part. This right here is the type of shit we need AI for. Help me do the boring shit like coloring and line art. Clip Studio Paint should focus on that, I think. They have the AI colorization thing, but it's just kind of mid in its current form. One thing worth highlighting here in the coloring stage is the pants. I went for like an acid wash look with a texture brush that has this color jitter effect enabled, which looks kind of cool. And yeah, similar story with the walls. Used some texture brushes here for a rough look and added some green shit on top of it with another texture brush to imply overgrowth. When it came to the ground, something to consider is that it's not pointing directly at the camera, it's pointing upwards. But the texture on the texture brush is pointing straight at the camera. So what a wise man would do, what a smart guy would do, was paint like a square and then warp it over the ground with the transform tool. But I'm uncultured individual, so what I did was use the liquify tool to just stretch the texture and the edges. Friendship ended with a round brush. Texture brushes are my new best friend. I know a lot of people are going to ask which ones I'm using, and the answer is various random brushes from the following packs. Java. Turn the lights back on. The original color scheme from the lighting is still intact. Looks pretty good so far. Looks kind of nice, I won't lie. But the question is, why in the flip? Why in the frick? Why in the flop? Why in the f did I add an ashtray? The guy's in an abandoned building. The whole thing is an ashtray. Why do you need an ashtray on like a table that has no legs? I thought that it was a good idea at the time, but maybe it's like a statement you're making about living in a society, you know what I mean? Maybe it adds character to the character. Anyway, the next step is to refine the edges of the shading and detail that shit up real hard, because I drew the lighting earlier when all the elements weren't in the scene yet, so we need to catch up. Let's make some cool shapes of light on the hair here to make it look kind of anime and cool. Anime hairs, get cool shape design. More manual labor on those darned bricks. Various environment elements being included in the shading pass here. Now to add some real juice in the mix, let's add an ambient light pass on his ass. This is necessary to bring out the forms in areas that aren't actually getting hit with that orange light. So that's what I was saying earlier. Yeah, light and shadow, that's subjective, but you'll see what I mean later. It's still being lit by the rest of the environment. Like, let's assume there is no proper roof over the head and a lot of the ambient light still gets into the abandoned building. I don't know. It doesn't make a whole lot of sense. We're breaking a little bit of rules here of logical thinking. Anyway, it doesn't matter. It's art, okay? We can break the rules when we want to, because I know the rules. We just need to bring out those forms. But yeah, even with this added in, I still didn't feel like there was enough going on. So I also added an ambient shadow pass, which is something I actually do every time I work on a piece. So that was to be expected. Very nice English. Good and cool. Well, at this point in the process, all the heavy lifting was done, but I still had more than an hour left over. So this is a groundbreaking moment for me, for real. I'm not joking. Usually I didn't need to do like 5 hours overtime, but this time 1 hour left over? What? Yeah, I think this piece just kind of hit like some sort of comfort zone for me, like, and I didn't need to do like a whole bunch of detailed rendering, because this type of art style, it saves us a little more time than my usual blendy rendery process. And yeah, the 3D usage also helped out a lot. I just used up the rest of the time to detail everything up, render things a little bit, as well as add in a couple things like a bright halo around the light that's coming in from outside, which adds a little bit of realism to the piece, and a little bit of smoke coming from his cigarette, because why not? That looks cool. It's very thick for cigarettes. Cigarette. Nice that I invented a new word once again. Comment cigarette in the comments if you're still watching. But yeah, that's about it for this commission. Job well done. I'll give myself credit for once. Usually I hate the end results, or like I'm not satisfied, but yeah, this one had a happy ending. I have a Fiverr video coming up, so I have 12 spots, 12 commission spots open, so you can reserve yours on January 2nd, and I'll post more detailed announcements very soon. Or maybe it's already posted by the time this video goes up. Alright, I'll see y'all later.
Buy my shirts right now, or else.
Bruh, check out my SoundCloud.
Hey kid, wanna buy some reference packs? I got you covered, fam. Long unedited time lapse of this drawing available on my second channel.